So, I'm here with Paul Campbell, my dad. He is 47. The topic is 9/11. So, my first question is, where were you on 9/11?
I was in New Haven, Connecticut, working out of town. I was out of town on a business trip.
Okay, that answers my second question. What were you doing?
I was working there.
What were you doing at the time of 9/11?
I was in a meeting. It was a morning meeting. I flew out, so it was Tuesday. I think it was a Tuesday. So I flew out on Monday morning to Connecticut, flew into Hartford, and then was supposed to be there through Thursday. And I was at a meeting on Tuesday morning.
What was your reaction?
I think the first reaction was it just didn't seem real. Because we didn't see anything, we heard reports, secondhand reports, people that watched the news or heard the news, so it probably took it was a little while before we were able to get on the internet and actually see photos or video of it, so kind of surprised.
What were you thinking about while watching the footage?
I mean, just the devastation. I mean, I lived in New York and worked in New York, so I had a pretty good idea of, I'd been inside the World Trade Center several times, so I knew there were a ton of people working there, so I knew it was pretty scary.
What did you do after the attack?
We wrapped up our work day a little early because everybody was obviously preoccupied, but we wrapped up our work day early, and then went out to dinner at a local pizza place and kind of talked about it, and watched some more stuff on the news. I think by the evening we had a better picture, a full picture of actually what happened throughout the day, because through the day you were getting some false reports and rumors and all kinds of stuff, so it took probably till late that evening to get what we thought was a full picture of what happened.
Were you scared to go into the city?
No, I actually went in probably the rest of that week. Plane shut down, so I couldn't get home for a few days. So it was actually a day or two late getting home. I think I was able to get out, I think maybe Friday or Saturday, I can't remember. But so I made it home, and then ultimately had to come back the following week to the same location, and then went down into the city. So I was in the city maybe 2 weeks after the event. Yeah, after 9/11, so I went down, took a train down, had dinner with some friends probably 2 weeks after.
How did it affect your daily life?
I guess the first thing to notice, since I had traveled a lot, was the restrictions on flying and security, when checking into the airport, getting on a plane. So when I flew home, my first flight home, I got upgraded to first class, and I was, they have meals, and they usually bring you just regular silverware. They handle this. There were no metal utensils. They only handed out plastic silverware, and they only gave you a spoon and a fork. I don't even think they would give you a knife. It was, so that was the first thing I noticed. But the biggest thing was the security around, was traveling security, and that's something I did. I took at least 2 flights a week back then, so it was an immediate impact on my daily life.
How did you feel about the economic crash?
From my perspective, it was the first recession that I had been a part of out in the workforce. So before 9/11, I had been working for, I guess, including the Army. I graduated from college, so about 7 years after college, 6-7 years after college. So I hadn't seen a recession. I hadn't seen an economic downturn to that point. So it was kind of a wake-up call. You get concerned. You see people out of work, and you hear people losing their jobs, and it impacts. You wonder if it's going to be you, if it's going to be your company. So it just made me tune into economic news and job reports a lot more at that point.
What did you think about the attack?
Well, I mean, I think first it was just absolute shock. I mean, you don't think anything like that can happen on U.S. soil, right? It's one of those things. It's not something you'd ever expect. So, I think it was shock, and then I think it was, then you're angry that somebody would do that to us, to the citizens of this country, and then some anger and frustration with the leadership of the country, because that this didn't just build up overnight. This is something that happened over several years, and the fact that we weren't able to identify people that were going to do something like this and stop them beforehand was.
Were you nervous to travel again?
No, I wasn't nervous to travel. It's my perspective on that is, after something really bad happens, the next trip, the next whatever related to that event is usually the safest you're ever going to be because of all the restrictions placed on there. So no, I wasn't afraid to travel.
Why did you think this happened?
Why did I think it happened? I think the United States has enemies like anybody does, and I think and as big of a country as we are, and as important as we are in the global landscape, you get people that don't like you. As those people gain resources and money, and they become a threat. So I think it's really about just being a target. It comes with being a prominent country. You're always going to have people that don't like some of the decisions you make and some of the things that you do.
What did you do the next day?
The next day, I went to work.
Just like a normal day?
Just like a normal day. It was different. I mean, some people were still, pretty upset. I had some friends that were still in the Army at the time, so most of the day, the next day, I was trying to it took me a couple days to get a hold of them to see, because I had a friend who was I knew that was working in the Pentagon. So I spent 2 days trying to get confirmation that he was okay. So it was a little bit, it certainly wasn't a normal day, but people tried to, those that weren't directly impacted. So if you didn't have a friend or a family member that was injured or killed in the attack or something like that, then you tried to just kind of go about your normal day as best you could.
Were your friends upset about it like you were?
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody was upset and frustrated, and I don't know if I think maybe the first day there was a lot of fear, but I think as the week went on, I don't think there was as much fear. I think they felt more confident that we had a handle on the attack, and that was because there was a lot of speculation, especially through the first day and even into the second day, that there were other attacks that were being planned, and they were getting ready to release them. So there was a lot of anxiety and concern. But yeah, I would say it's very similar.
Did you guys talk about a lot, kind of like how everyone's talking about the pandemic right now?
Yeah, there was a lot. It was on every news channel. You couldn't turn a website on, you couldn't turn the TV on without somebody talking about it. It was everywhere, and the video of the planes crashing into the towers. I mean, you saw it every day, over and over and over again. So, yeah, I mean, it was nonstop for, it seemed like a long time. Every bit of the first couple of weeks. I mean, even the first weekend. I mean, nobody went out to eat. Everybody just kind of sat around their house. And it was, watch the news. It was a self-imposed stay-at-home order, I guess.
Did you think the government reacted in the right way?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think so. I mean, they focused on, and ultimately it took a long time to track down the people that were responsible for it. But yeah, I think the response of the government, well, I think they failed us on the front end in terms of security. I think they did the right thing on the back end.
That's it. Thank you for your time today.
That's it.